Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ango, and in today's video, we are going to discuss AEW wrestlers appearing on WWE RAW. Also, New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced a new signing from America. I'm going to tell you guys why this is a good thing. And then also, Jay White has revealed his status with Impact Wrestling. As always, guys, I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way 7 days a week. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified. Now, with that being said, we're going to kick things off with Jay White. Everybody was under the impression that Jay White was working with Impact, at least in some sort of contract agreement. However, that doesn't appear to be the case. In fact, Jay White was on the sessions with Renee Paquette, and one of the things that he had to say about his status with Impact Wrestling is that I didn't sign with them. I'm still with New Japan, but luckily I have a fair bit of freedom where I can kind of go and do what I want to speak. Now, the reason why I actually want to talk about this, and for one, I just feel it's really important to mention that Impact never, they've always had a relationship with New Japan to a certain degree, and then the whole thing happened with Okada several years ago that obviously caused a huge rift. You wouldn't necessarily expect Impact to have creative freedom with some of the wrestlers from New Japan, but I think what has happened here is the new management of Impact Wrestling has done such a good job, and I think the management of New Japan Pro Wrestling has built this relationship with Impact that is really, really successful. Now, I know a lot of people talk about the Forbidden Door being an AEW thing, and yes, maybe they did popularize it, but when it really comes to working relationships with other companies, Impact had been doing it for so long, and Impact has always really maintained a good product. Maybe they don't have the production value, maybe they don't have the millions of people watching around the world, but I don't think those things necessarily dictate whether Impact has a good working relationship with another company. So yes, Jay White is working with Impact. Yes, it appears that there is some freedom with that, but no, he is not signed to Impact, and that's okay. It just goes to show you that NJPW and Impact have a very, very healthy relationship. And honestly, seeing God, seeing Jay White, seeing all of these people pop up in Impact has been really, really great. Because I think for Impact Pro Wrestling, it's not that New Japan is going to necessarily help Impact grow their business, but I think what it has done is also help elevate the product in certain storylines. Like, I don't think Impact needs New Japan, but I think it just adds a little bit more flavor, a little bit more oomph to the show, and that right there is very, very beneficial for them. So all in all, pretty cool stuff there. All right, guys, now I want to move over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. There is a new signing. You guys might know this guy, Chris Dickinson. You may have seen him dominate the indies, obviously GCW. You may have seen him on NJPW Strong. Well, now Chris Dickinson has announced that he is headed to Japan. In fact, he put out a tweet and an Instagram post. I am beyond proud to announce that I have officially signed an agreement with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've heard you all for years say I should sign with other companies, and I appreciate every one of your hopes for my success, but this is what I've always wanted. With the company expansion in the USA on the rise and Japan finally reopening, the future is brighter than ever. I am still available to work independently in the USA and internationally, excluding Japan, so he cannot work indies in Japan. But NJPW is now home. Let's continue to bring the highest level of pro wrestling to the world together. Now, Chris Dickinson may not actually have the biggest name in pro wrestling, but Chris Dickinson, anybody who has watched GCW, anybody who has watched NJPW Strong, anybody who has seen Chris Dickinson before knows this guy is really, really legit. And it's going to be very interesting to see how New Japan actually books him, because he is correct. Japan is opening up. The world is starting to open up in general. Going to Japan and having a career out there, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what an indie guy, I would call him a big prospect, right? I'm curious to see what an indie guy who is a prospect will do when he goes to Japan, because right now all the talk is always about AEW and WWE, and that's fine, but people do forget that New Japan is a company not only with a lot of capital, but they have a lot of things going for themselves, and this is going to be a test. This is, if Chris Dickinson could go out to Japan and show people, and granted, yes, we saw Kenny do it before. We've seen Jay White do it. We've seen other people do it. But if Chris Dickinson could be the newest guy to go to Japan and actually have a big career there, I think some people that leave WWE or some people that leave AEW may very well actually consider Japan. Obviously, it has to make sense from a financial perspective, but you know, if the country is open and people could do what they love, which is pro wrestling, I don't think it's fair for people to count out New Japan. And that's really what it comes down to. I think a lot of people have counted them out, and I don't like that people have done that. But ultimately, the COVID pandemic did a lot to affect and impact people in that regard. All right, guys, now this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I was at WWE RAW, so I saw this firsthand. And very, very, very interesting stuff, guys. So you may have watched WWE RAW. This segment right here, they're doing like this bachelorette party, whatever. Now, basically, if you watched, you know, you can watch this. You can see who's there. But it's a whole bunch of different wrestlers that have appeared on AEW Dark. So some of the names, Kayla Sparks, Layla Gray, Rachel Rose, Miranda Gordy, Jossie. I mean, literally, there's a few other ones that were listed as well. But these people have appeared on AEW Dark, and now they're appearing on WWE television as extras. Now, here's the thing, and this is not a criticism towards AEW, but this is more so a question, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. So please weigh in on the conversation down below. But I almost feel like AEW having independent talent constantly on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, it's a public tryout for the world to see, right? In one way, the Dark and Elevation show pads the records of other wrestlers on television, which I understand, right? I understand why they do that, because wins and losses, the ranking system, it matters. But at the same time, from my understanding, WWE has had tryouts with these people before or have plans to do tryouts in the future. Now, I recognize these people, obviously, because I pay attention to the indie scene. Obviously, I pay attention to what's happening on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. However, the WWE Universe does not. So when these people came up on the screen, I immediately knew, oh, I've seen these people on AEW. I've seen them, you know, obviously, they're being casted as extras. So my question to you is, AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, whatever, are these shows basically like a feeder system to WWE? Because I think when you really think about it, AEW putting this independent talent on YouTube with over 100,000 views, and you're showing your competition, you're showing the wrestling industry these people. Maybe WWE has never heard of Rachel Rose or Layla Gray, right? But maybe now WWE has insight to who these people actually are. Maybe this goes to our WWE to say, hey, AEW has some interest in them, maybe we should sign them. Because WWE, as I've said before, WWE is not against signing independent talent, but they do not want to have an entire class that is filled from independent talent. So, you know, when you see somebody like Kayla Sparks, when you see somebody like Miranda Gordy, by the way, Miranda Gordy, if I remember correctly, is the daughter of Terry Gordy. So, you know, and I believe she's even had a trial with WWE in the past. So, when I see these names show up on AEW and then very well show them on WWE as an extra, that means WWE has a potential opportunity to sign them, bring them in, tryouts, whatever it may be. I almost feel like Dark and Dark Elevation is highlighting talent that aren't on a guaranteed contract, and then basically WWE is able to say, hey, they looked good on TV, they looked good with the cameras, they looked good, maybe we should bring them in. To me, I'm asking you guys if you see a problem with this. The only problem that I see is that while Dark and Elevation are being used to obviously pad the records of wrestlers, I also see it as a way for them to spotlight certain talent without a guaranteed contract. And if there's no guaranteed contract, I think that's when WWE can swoop in and sign them, and I think that would be counterproductive for AEW. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have a different perspective on it. I would love to hear about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Peace.